All right, everybody, welcome to Real Estate Done Rightish, your favorite podcast for realtors by realtors. I'm Jen.
And I'm Annalie. And for a combined 30 years, we've been working in this industry just trying to figure it out. And by figuring it out,
we mean we keep emergency snacks in so many locations that we occasionally stumble upon our own provisions, like squirrels finding winter acorns. It's cute, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you ever find a snack in your bag that you forgot you put there, though, actually?
In my car sometimes.
Yeah, like what?
I recently found a whole bag of gummy, Sour Patch Kids.
Oh.
No, there was some gummy thing that I had purchased at the checkout, and I was like, I need these in my car, and then I forgot about them. They weren't even open.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they were in there for like a month.
Yeah, like
unopened.
a squirrel.
So it was a surprise. Yeah. It's great.
I love it. All right, everybody, if you're enjoying the show, can you do us a huge favor? You know what time it is. It's time to what, Annalie?
Smash that follow button.
She said it. Smash the follow button. Leave us a 5-star review. You know the gig. It actually does help us, and it helps the algorithm. So this will reach more people. Thank you in advance for doing that.
All right, today on the show, what are we talking about? We're going to chit-chat per the usual, and then we're going to get into setting meaningful real estate goals that are in alignment with who you are and building a business in alignment.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because I feel like in my days of coaching specifically, so I had like a year and a half of 3 years, I guess, running my own business. And then I spent all this time like coaching and sitting one-on-one with people that were like, I feel like I have to do it this way because I saw somebody doing their real estate business this particular way.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was a huge aha for me is that I feel like real estate just is kind of the vehicle, potentially, for you to express who you are through your business, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we'll get into that.
Yeah. Love it. I'm going to learn some things. I can't wait.
You sound enthused.
I am. I mean, I think doing a recheck on what am I doing? Because sometimes you lose the thread a little bit too,
Yeah.
right? Like we set goals the same way every year and it's based on last year and it's based on, but life changes and things change. And like, what is my business in alignment with what I want for my life to look like or in alignment with my strengths or in alignment with, just all the things. So I'm excited to talk about this.
Yeah. Cool.
Okay.
What do you want to chat about, Annie?
I have a would you rather question for you today.
Oh my God. You know how I love would you rathers.
Okay. Would you rather have to handwrite all contracts? Now in Minnesota, our purchase agreement packet can be 30 plus pages. Mm-hmm. Okay. So would you rather have to handwrite all contracts or take all client calls on speakerphone in public?
Well, you know how I send voice notes all the time instead of texting? If texting is too much work for me with my thumbs on a phone, or even like, what's it called when you have the microphone that like picks up your words? Not a voice note.
Oh, just voice to texting.
Voice to texting.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Both of those feel like too much work for me.
Yeah.
And so handwriting contracts, absolutely too much work. I'd rather like have my phone on speaker in public.
Plus, you are talking in public all the time because you are doing voice notes
all the time. Yeah,
the time.
I'm like
and
at the grocery store voice noting. And people are like, what is this chick doing? Yeah, I don't really care.
Yeah.
What would you choose and why?
I think I'd do the same thing. I mean, it's just efficiency. I don't really care who hears me talking.
Yeah.
I mean, unless it's something that's really confidential, but there aren't that many calls that are...
That's when you go in a bathroom stall.
Yeah.
You just sit there and let
You can be in public privately, right? Go in the corner. Yeah, just for efficiency's sake. Handwriting contracts. I mean, I do have beautiful handwriting.
You do.
And I'm obsessed
and you have
with my
so many
handwriting.
amazing pens to write with.
And I do have a lot of amazing pens. So maybe that would actually give me a lot of joy. But I know it's
and
too
calluses
much.
And finger calluses.
It's too much work. I would definitely take the calls because I also do take calls like walking around the lake all the time with my earbuds in. I'm like, people can hear, but they don't know what we're talking about.
I don't do that because I breathe hard when I'm walking. So then I'm just like on the other end, like,
Well, I don't do it all the time, but I do it.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, we're in alignment there.
Thank God.
We both would rather speak in public than write.
Thank God we know this.
Okay, so let's get into it. So today we're talking about setting goals.
Yeah.
Which, I don't know. I wonder what the stats are on how many people set goals and track their numbers.
I
Do you
have
have
them
an
somewhere,
inkling?
but I don't have them at my fingertips right now. I looked this up in the new year. Shit. You know what? Let me just look it up real quick. I have it like on a thing on my computer. 1 second. I just referenced this at a class that I taught. Okay. Okay. All right. A few interesting stats on goals. Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask you, we'll turn this into a quiz time for you, Annalie.
Oh, good. Can't
What
wait.
percentage of adults are likely to set goals at the beginning of the year?
30?
You're way off. 70%
Oh.
are likely to set goals at the beginning of the year. Okay. Out of that 70%, how many do you think write the goals down?
Oh, half?
Not even close. 3%.
Whoa.
You're like a math whiz. Okay, so if 3% of 70 write down the goals, what percent of 100 is that?
Absolutely not.
You can't do that off the top of your head. Anyways, very few people. I bet you could.
Well, it's 21 people. No. No,
3%.
it's 2.1 people. So it's 2.1% of 100.
So
Of all of us.
two people out of 100. So 2% of people actually write down goals at the beginning of the year. Is that what we just figured out?
I think so.
Okay, you're so smart.
If my math is wrong, just leave me alone.
Just let me live.
Just let me live.
Okay, here's the last part of it. For written goals, so for the 2 people or the 3% of the 70, let's just even say it was 3% of 100. That's 3 people. So we've got to be close. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for those people that write down goals, the achievement rate ranges from 50 to 80% compared to just 10% for the unwritten goals. So you might set a goal at the beginning of the year, like, I want to read 10 books or I want to sell 10 houses or whatever it is. Saying it, you're going to only be like 10% likely to achieve it. And if you write it down, it's 50 to 80% of those people will achieve it just by writing down your goals.
Wow.
That's a big deal, actually.
That's huge.
I wonder why that is. I wonder if it's just because we have focus on it or because
Well, I mean,
if there's a subconscious thing.
You can literally forget them.
We don't have to get that deep about it. You're like, yeah, you just forget. What is the goal?
Yeah, I think that's a huge part of it because I have had like the book reading goal. In years past, there was a year where I wanted to read 1 personal development and 1 fun book every month.
Yeah.
And I was incredibly focused on it because I wrote it down, and then I had a page in like my planner that had them, and then each month I would write which ones they were going to be, and I would plan out a couple months, so I already knew. So it wasn't like, oh no,
What am I going to read today?
Yeah. And then if it was towards the end of the month, I would like carve out a day to just cram through a book if I was missing it.
Yeah.
So now life happened. I did not achieve that goal, but I read way more than I would have without having it written down and in front of me in a plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah, it seems basic. And I think that's one thing that I would say a lot when I'm training or when I'm coaching is that some of these basic things, it's really easy to listen to this and go, yeah, I know, write down my goals. I'm like, but are you doing it?
right.
Am I doing it? I'm not, this isn't just like a preachy moment. It's just really like, until you tell me, yeah, I'm going to ask you, are you doing it?
Yeah.
I know I should be doing it. Okay, well, if you're not, and if you
Where
want,
are they?
Yeah, where are they?
Yeah.
And if you're not doing it and you're not happy about how your business looks, this is probably the very first place to start, is to get clear on where you want to go. It's having a roadmap.
Yeah.
You've heard that kind of like, if we get in our car and aim any direction and start driving, we're just going to end up wherever we end up. And I think there's a balance to being like, I want to go down to Florida and there are several ways we can get there, but at least we're pointed in the right direction versus just having no idea.
Getting in the car and driving. Yeah.
So with setting goals, I would say the first thing is to figure out in your business, to figure out what the monetary goal is. Like, what is the goal in an annual within a 12-month period? And let's say you're just starting today, like me, or you're relaunching your business, or I would say within a 12-month period, what do you want that goal to be? Sometimes it is easier because of seasonality to look at like from now until the end of the fiscal year too. So, but let's just keep it simple and just say over a 12-month period, what I want to set my goals. I think probably 50% of people would respond to that with, I'm not money motivated, which is really interesting to me. They would say, and I don't want to focus on how many units to sell. They had an inner resistance towards like setting a goal around money.
But
Why?
What did they want to set it around?
When I pushed on them a little, so this is a couple things. Usually the resistance was because they grew up with some framework around money being greedy or money making you bad or like feeling like they were a bad person if they were pursuing money or having an impression of what billionaires look like and being like, I don't want to be that. So we have these layers of deep things in us. And some of it is subconscious, I think, that keeps us from even setting a goal around money because we think money equals bad.
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that, but I used to kind of feel that way. So it's like, well, let me set the lowest amount at what I need so that I'm not being greedy. And that's a whole different, I mean, we could have a whole episode on that topic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
But
psychology of money.
yeah. But then I would say to your question, Annalie, about like, well, what do they want or what would they set goals around? Usually those people, if I said, well, if I challenged their threshold, like, are you able to, because they'd come and they'd need coaching because they couldn't pay their bills. You know, It was like, okay, well, what is your goal? Well, I need to provide for my family. If it was attached to meaning, then it was different. Okay, well, how much do you need to make? 100,000. Well, if you made, so then I would challenge the floor. I would say, okay, well, if you made 70,000, would you be okay with that? Yeah, I'd be okay with that. How about 60? How about 50? How about 40? Until they go, oh, I need to hit that. Okay, well, then we know that that's your minimum goal. Like, this is where you're actually motivated at. And that would help them get clear on that without it feeling like it was attached to greed. But then if you could ask, like, well, what is motivating you and why? That's a really big question. I mean, for some people, it's I want more time in my life. You know, you work with people that make a lot of money, but they're not motivated to set business goals anymore because they're just getting enough referrals coming in. They're like, I'm not happy with my life. Yeah. So then it's setting a different kind of goal around creating more systems and efficiencies so that your time isn't eaten up. But I think just starting with a basic, like, what is the monetary goal that you want to set or the unit goal for houses? Because the unit goal actually dictates your level of activity more than your monetary goal.
So, but start maybe monetary and then convert that using either your average sales price or the standard or average in your market to get to a unit goal.
Yeah.
So start money, get to units.
Yeah. And like simple math, I just like a lot of new agents will say, at least here in the Midwest, I'm sure it's different in more expensive parts of the country, but a lot of agents that are new will say, I want to, 6 figures is kind of the thing. Like I want to make $100,000. Okay. Average sale price in the Twin Cities right now is right around $350,000 at around 3%, which we're not price fixing, but around 3% commission. That's right around $10,000. So that's pretty easy math to think, okay, well then I need to sell 10 units. Buy or sell side did $100,000 gross. Remember, folks, we have to take out taxes. So then you take out 25% of that, and you're getting 75 after taxes and before expenses.
Before expenses, yeah.
Okay, so then what's your expenses? Well, I don't know. A lot of people don't know because they're not tracking that. So you've got to kind of ballpark, like, what do you think you'll spend? I'm a huge advocate as a new agent that you don't have to spend a lot of money to make money. You can really bootstrap your business in real estate without spending a shit ton of money on marketing and all kinds of crazy stuff. But at a minimum, I would just say put in $5,000. You're going to need new headshots. You're going to need marketing materials. You're going to need lock boxes and signs and whatever.
Yeah. Basics.
Yeah. Basics. Okay. So we've got then some kind of metric goal that we're looking at. And I then would go back to focusing on what are the units closed that you want to hit. So let's say I'm going to say 24 to a month. Like I want to close 24 units. The next thing that I would go into, kind of point to, is like, well, what are the strategies that we're going to use to hit that goal? And we'll set goals around those strategies. So I would ask people questions, or you can ask if you're listening today, ask yourself questions around, around what you're good at and what you like doing. And
Yeah.
it can be so simple. Like you guys, I mean, I remember, I don't know when you started doing foster dog, like incorporating that. You want to talk about that for a second? Like how you used that?
Yeah. Well, I think I took a class or taught a class that kind of pushed this, and I can't remember. It wasn't my content if I taught
Yeah.
it. It was somebody else's, but it was really, what are you doing in life already that you love and that you're putting time and energy into, and how can you try to marry that into building your business or building connections that will help your business? So it's not me, it's my sister that's on my team. She's very involved in a local dog rescue. And so she started sponsoring, or the team started sponsoring their adoption events. So we have a table, we do giveaways, people can sign up. And then she is also there interacting with all of the fosters that are bringing dogs to the adoption event to try to get them adopted, and then potential adopters. And she's just getting in front of a ton of people. So it's just a way, and it's not her only source of business, but it was a way to, she's already doing all of those things. So how can we just like tweak it a little bit so that we're adding real estate in, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
And then transactions have come from it, and connections have come from it, and the community, we're also supporting something that we believe in,
Yeah.
and we're helping give back to that community as well.
Yeah, I think that's great. Yeah, I mean, I think it's kind of this classic, like if you have a stool and there's 3 legs to it, what are the 3 legs of your lead gen, or what are the 3 legs of strategy, the 3 strategies that you can use to obtain more business? And if we wanted to get a little more granular on it, I would say, hey, can we like role play for a second?
Yeah,
here?
absolutely.
Okay, hey, Annalie, you're new to the business. We're pretending you're new. This might seem like an odd question to start with, but Steve Jobs asked this question of his employees, and it first was, what makes your heart sing? It's a deep question.
Yeah,
I'm going deep.
You're hitting me. What makes my heart sing?
We can be less dramatic, but what are you passionate about?
I mean, I love like design, interior design. I love all kinds of design.
Okay, let's go with design. Okay. So we're just going to hold on to that for a second.
Okay.
So design is something that you're passionate about. Okay. So again, if this is you and I'm talking to you, and if you're listening right now, you can do this. You can just take a minute, take 5 minutes, and list everything that you're passionate about and everything that makes your heart sing.
Yeah.
However, ask yourself the question in a way that it causes you to open up and just like brainstorm those ideas. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I would want to move.
Cooking, family,
Yeah.
dogs, community.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a whole bunch. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you ask me like one, that's
Yeah,
hard.
I know. Sorry.
Like, I don't know.
Sorry. Okay. Yeah.
Okay,
That loosens it up.
but if there's
Brainstorm.
there's a list, then yeah.
Okay, so we're going to brainstorm that. So then you have a bunch of things. Now I'm going to get at the value side of it. So you're going to ask a question. One of the questions we can ask is, and we can ask this a few different ways because your different minds will work differently. But like, what's something that really irritates you?
Oh,
That makes you really angry in life? That you're like, oh, I hate this when this happens, or in your transactions, or maybe you're new, but like, what are things that make you just really angry? I know it's a weird question.
You are dishonesty.
Okay.
Like I like transparency. I like people to show up and be who they are. I don't like when I feel
Okay,
like
I'm going to just
people are
pause you
being
right
dishonest.
there. Okay, this is really huge, and this is a part of this is a part of like goal setting, but really this is a part of establishing your personal quote unquote brand. And brand isn't just what our logo looks like. It's how we show up. It's who we are. It's how we show up. So in everything you do and everything you say, if you had on the tip of your tongue when somebody said, well, what's important to you and why? This is like Simon Sinek's Start With Why. We can link that TED Talk. It's one that I use all the time, but it's starting with what you value and then talking about how that shows up. So like Apple, as an example, might say, we believe that innovation is central to what it means to be human. And so we've created these really innovative products. Here's a phone. Do you want to buy one? That's kind of the really short premise of Start With Why. So for you, if it's like, I really value authenticity and transparency, and so I bring that to every transaction that I do. And so here, do you want to work with me? You don't start with, do you want to work with me? You start with your values and your beliefs.
Yeah.
So kind of coming back to those values, like one of my And the reason I ask what irritates you is sometimes it's easier to pinpoint things that irritate us. And then if you flip the coin over, you see what the value is. So for me, I am like irritated to no end when I go out to a restaurant or a store. We've probably been in a scenario like this.
Yeah.
And I'll ask for something or ask a question and somebody says, I don't know. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know? Like, if you don't,
That's your job.
well, and there are times I don't know, but when you don't know, you don't give me a fake, you're saying, you know what, I'm not really, if they say, I'm not really sure, it could be blah, 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 that also irritates me. Because I'm like, it's your job to get to the bottom of the truth of this.
To go find out.
To go find out. If you don't know, you say, you know what, I'm not sure. That's a great question. I'll find out and get back to you.
Yeah.
Or you work on the front end to educate yourself. So in that moment, I've really been able to extract what my values and beliefs are. So now, if we pair that with the thing that you really like, and then we can start building your business around it. So let's say like education, like you really want to educate people. I think this is a value of yours, you would say. Yeah. So you want to educate people, and this might seem kind of basic, and you really like cooking.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a community event for your database, for your sphere, once a quarter where you have a cooking class and you educate people on cooking with fresh fish from Alaska. Has nothing to do with real estate.
Yeah.
But it's one way you can create an event or an opportunity or become kind of incorporate who you are into your business.
Yeah.
Because this is really relationship business. Is about building relationship. Okay, so those are just like some examples. But now if you're going to get into just like, okay, Annalee values education. How can we use that value in everything in your business? So every newsletter you send out has educational components about real estate in it because you really value education and authentic, transparent education.
Yep.
Okay. So now at every event, how can we make sure that we're leaving people feeling like they know more than when they showed up? So you're infusing that into everything you're doing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And that can be part of how so I'm thinking about like, okay, I've got this goal to sell 24 homes a year. How am I going to communicate to my database? We talked about that in our first episode. So how am I going to communicate to my database? Well, I'm going to talk about the things I like, and I'm going to use the giftings that I have to do that somehow. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. And
So I have a question. This to me feels like big picture.
yep.
So if I've got my units goal,
Yep.
and I work on this big picture of what is my brand, quote unquote, and again, not brand like your branding package, but who you are and how you want to do business. I start to get that down. How then do I make sure that I'm going and getting 2 closings a month,
Yeah.
right? Because the big, I think people can get lost in the big. We talked about that a little bit when it's like get into action. If you're new, just go get into action. This is kind of focusing on the big, and it's supporting everything you're doing. So then how do you decide what to do to actually make sure you're going and getting those 2 transactions a month?
Really great question. Okay. This is the way I've done it, and I'm not saying that this is the only way to do it, but I modeled both times I've launched my business off of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent model of creating what they call a 36 touch. Not like the premise behind that was that if you're communicating to the people in your database
Who you already know, like they know you, they like you, they trust you
36 times a year, then you're going to get 1 transaction per 6 people in your database. And I think that data has changed. So I think it's like 50 something touches a year. But keep in mind that was put out before social media was a thing. Like we're in front of people so much more than that.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of feeling like if I do a 36 touch that doesn't include the organic interaction on social media or includes like, we can get back to that, then I'm also doing social media, you're going to hit that number somehow.
Yeah, I think it's touches have gone up, or the amount of touches required, and then more meaningful content is important.
Yeah.
And then I think the number, like I don't think it's 1 for 6 anymore. I think even with all of those increasing.
It's like 1 for 12 or something.
Or more.
Yeah.
I think that there's just such saturation in the market of real estate agents, number one, and so many fewer transactions.
Yeah.
So I think it's just those two have shifted. But so don't quote us on 1 for 6.
Yeah.
But
Don't quote us on those numbers.
That used to be the number.
But it would be good to get in and know that number.
And it actually was 2 for 12 because it was 1 for 12 coming from your database, and then
one
that
referral.
one, or that one creating another opportunity.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
If I'm remembering correctly.
So at the beginning of the year, and maybe we do this when we hit September or October, the ideal would be that in September, you're putting together your annual plan that you start actually executing in October, because it takes a lot of times 90 days for the results to show up from the activities that you're doing. So then in theory, your first closings coming in would be hitting in January at the beginning of the year. So your fourth quarter activities lead to your first quarter results.
Okay, but today, let's just say today.
Okay.
I just got my license yesterday.
I'm getting there. I'm with you.
I've got my units figured out.
Yep.
I've worked on asking the questions about how do I make a business that's aligned to who I am? And again, we could go way deeper into that. Call Jen for private coaching. No, I'm just kidding. But you can sit and you can journal about just your strengths, your values. How are you wired? How are you going to get there? So today, if I had to just say, okay, now what do I do?
Okay, there's one more step between those two, I think, which is
me. I want to get
you
right
want to get to the point. Sorry for all the really direct people. I'm getting there. You've got to put together, in my opinion, an annual plan. So if the goal is for your book reading example, actually, let's use a different example. The goal is that I want to send out a newsletter once a month in the mail. Okay, so I know that I've got 12 newsletters I need to create. Let's say I want to send out weekly email newsletters. Let's say that I want to do an event quarterly. So you have a whole roadmap for the whole year of the different categories of activities that are in alignment with your values, that are in alignment with your strengths, that represent who you are, and you know exactly what they are per month.
Yep.
Okay, so and I would include. We talked about this in the first episode. There's sort of the long-term activities, and I would say events fall into that category, or
Absolutely.
newsletters fall into that category. To me, those are relationship cultivation activities. They're not hunting activities.
Yeah, they're not prospecting.
No. And if you need to prospect and if you need to go get now business, I would include those goals on your list as well. And for me, because I'm super extroverted and I like community, open houses make sense for me. So I'm going to put those on my goal list, even though they're kind of hard to come by right now. But then what else can I do? That's probably why door knocking worked for me, because I like being in person. I like being face-to-face with people, maybe networking events. So think about, again,
what's in alignment with
who you are,
or
yeah.
what.
If you're really data
people,
or go ahead.
Well, I always tell people, if you look at there's a list of prospecting activities. There's many of them all over the place out there. We could link one. If you go through and certain ones make your stomach hurt.
Yeah.
Probably that's not going to be for you because, for instance, we're so different that the idea of knocking on someone's door literally makes me sick to my stomach.
Yeah.
And I think, were you coaching me?
Yeah.
And I
kind of wild.
Made myself do it.
Yeah.
And the first day when I got out of my car, I couldn't walk because my legs were numb, and I had a physical reaction to the idea of bothering people when they were at home, because I hate being bothered.
Yeah.
For any reason, or I feel guilty because it's a charity or something, and then I get guilted into giving them money because I'm really bad at saying no. And then I don't even know if it's in alignment with my values, and I'm giving people money. It's a whole thing. So I don't want to be that person to someone else.
Yeah.
And so it was, literally the first day, I did not knock on one door. I got out, I walked 10 feet, and I got back in my car, and I almost started to cry.
Yeah.
And then the next day, I think I did 1 block.
Yeah.
And then the next day I did 6 blocks.
Yeah.
And, I did it because I told you I was going to for coaching. But then I was I'm not going to do this anymore because it is so painful. And people are going to be able to pick up on that, and they're going to be like, this lady looks like she's having a panic attack. So,
Finding ways.
Of going through and saying what would feel, and it not necessarily good, but good enough. What would feel okay for me? If
I could massage that scenario, because I think this is really important. That is, if it's causing like a really extreme adverse reaction, there are lots of ways to build your business and you don't have to do it that way. But I will say there are a lot of people where they think everything is the worst thing in the world.
Sure.
And if that is the actual case, that you cannot do any kind of prospecting, it's either going to take you a very long time to build your business based on marketing, or a whole lot of money, or you're not going to succeed in the industry. Yeah. So like there is a real element of going, okay, what am I actually willing to do? Now, if it was like, okay, Annalee's good in front of a room, she loves to teach, she's great at educating people. What if instead of door knocking, you flyered everybody in a particular city that had to have TISH inspections is what we call them here, but like
truth in
a
housing or time of
sale
yeah.
inspection. So what if Annalee held a seminar for people in their city saying, if you're thinking of selling within the next year, this is something you need to get it done. You might as well do it now. Is that something that you could do?
Yes.
And you would say, yeah, that's in alignment with my values. So it's like a little massage on that idea.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. Or, I mean, like for me, I feel completely comfortable talking to anybody as long as they are coming towards me. So like open house, love it. I'm great. I can talk to anybody in open house because I'm not bothering them. They're bothering me, right? They're choosing to come in. So I seek out people that are looking for information. Mm-hmm. Those are my people.
And there's probably, you guys, if you're listening and you have creative ways and you want to share them with us, shoot us an email because it'd be fun in our happy hour episode to go through and read some of those.
Yeah.
There's such a broad network of amazing creative realtors that have done a million things as a way to prospect versus market and go out there. But coming back to the goals section of it, I would say once you if you haven't identified those things, you need to start looking for ideas. Like give yourself 2 days to scour the internet, to reach out to realtors, to get on, real estate Facebook groups, whatever it is, and pick some ideas and then go. You've got to so many people will get just absolutely stalled up, analysis paralysis. You just sit there and spin their wheels. Like make a decision and go and commit to it for 3 months and get enough data to see what the results or lack of results are. And you can take next steps from there, but pick something.
So what does that look like? You just said get data. So what the next most important thing I think that people forget about is tracking. Yeah.
Yeah. So track, I would say, and this is, a lot of realtors are not detail oriented. So that's why a lot of them don't do it. A lot of us, I should put myself in that category, but once you have information about what you're doing and data on what's working or not, then you can make more educated decisions. So can I
interject? I call this the warm blanket of real estate.
Because I love warm blankets.
I always think about, I can just wrap myself up in this warm, cozy blanket, because if I've tracked enough activities and I need a listing this week, I should know exactly how many activities I need to do to go and get that listing appointment or those 2 listing appointments or whatever it is I need. So for instance, I used to work old expireds. I got to the point, and I was calling, but I knew that if I made 200 calls, I would talk to about 20 people and I could set one appointment out of those 20 people. If I got 20 people on the phone. So I let go of everything else and I didn't love doing it, but I would just say, okay, this week I have to sit down and I have to dial 200 times.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't hold myself to the 20 conversations. I wouldn't, because sometimes you'd have 40 conversations. Sometimes you'd had 5, right? It would all balance out. But when I knew the number, I could let go of everything else and say, this week I just have to sit down and literally punch 200 numbers into the phone and have a conversation. And my script was really simple. It worked for me. It felt like me. It was authentic to me. And then that's a warm, cozy blanket.
Yeah.
Because that's not saying, oh no, I don't have any business. What am I going to do this week? And being paralyzed, that's saying, I know exactly what I have to do. And as long as I do it every week, this month, it's gonna shake
work
out and it's gonna work.
Yeah, that's super empowering and it takes time. I mean, it takes a lot of no's to get the yes. Like I similar to me with door knocking, I knew that for every 50 doors I knocked, I would set 1 listing appointment. And out of every 2 listing appointments I held, I would take 1. So it wasn't a super high conversion ratio. 50% is not amazing. But to me, it was when they're cold listing appointments from door knocking.
But 1 out of 50 is
pretty
huge.
good. And
that's actually really high.
Well, who knows what it'll be now, but it, because so many less people are selling, but at the time you also get better at the skills that it takes to do the thing. When you
Right.
have enough repetition in there, I read that somewhere recently that door-to-door sales, not that the same thing I would say applies to open houses and everything else. When you have enough repetition, you have a really quick feedback loop that helps you get better. Same with recording podcasts, same with any skill set. The more you do it, the better you get at it but if you have so much time that goes in between doing things, you're just not going to refine as quickly. So where were we going with this? Tracking. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So I would say track the activities. So how many dials, how many doors are you knocking? How many open houses are you holding? How many people are coming through? Count the best that you can. And then how much time are each of those things taking? I think the time is valuable too, because then when you need to go block out time on your calendar, you can say, okay, I know that it takes about this much time to call about this many people.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done that.
Yeah.
I'm writing it down.
Good. So take the note.
The time.
Yeah. I mean, and sometimes you forget and sometimes it's hard to do, but if you can also, gosh, AI is so amazing right now. You probably use Claude for this to say, hey, can you help me put together a spreadsheet that would track these things and auto-populate for this so that then you can start seeing it fill up and see how many appointments you're setting and how many clients you're signing. And I'm going to just touch on this and then we'll do a separate episode on this. The warm blanket of that also comes in if you're like, man, I'm doing all these activities, but I'm talking to people, but I'm not setting appointments. We call that a point of conversion. So we'll look at that little point of conversion and say, what do we need to do to increase your ratio there?
Your skill set.
Yeah. So why are you not setting the appointment? Are you an asshole when you talk to people? That's not working.
Wow. That was the first thing that came up.
No, I just used an extreme example.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody the other day and she said two things. I said, are you calling through your database? Yeah. How long are the phone calls? All about 40 minutes to 2 hours.
Whoa.
Per conversation.
Whoa.
That's an extreme example, but
I don't
was
have anybody in my database that I want to talk to for 2 hours.
No, and she's such a sweet person and people love her and she could talk and she views it as so I was like, okay, they need to be 4-minute phone calls.
Yeah.
And if you would talk to them for 2 hours, that's when you set up a coffee appointment.
Yeah.
So the point is to get through your database, but then also what are you saying when you call? I'm just asking how they're doing. Are you asking are you saying anything about real estate? Well, if they ask, yes. So there's an opportunity there. You don't have to say, do you want to buy a house? You just, what I'm saying right now when I'm calling people is, hey, I'm letting folks know that I'm getting also, I'm chatting with them. I'm spending a few minutes chatting. And then I say, also, by the way, you probably heard this, but I'm letting folks know that I'm back into the sell side of real estate and want to make sure that you know that I'm a resource, even if you're not thinking of buying or selling, if you need contractors or yard work people or whatever it is. Just want to make sure people know. So is there anything real estate related with that I can help you with right now?
Yeah.
So and I genuinely feel that way.
Yeah.
You have to be clear with yourself about what do I feel good saying? I'm not asking for something. I'm finding a way to offer value. And if the answer to them is no, honestly, everybody that I've talked to are like, thank you. That's so kind of you. I'll send them my vendor list. They're not annoyed.
No.
Because I'm also having I actually care to hear about how they're doing.
Yeah.
So anyways, there's a point of conversion in there where you want to look at and go, oh, she said she wasn't asking the question or mentioning that she's in real estate to any of these people. She's got a huge database.
So she's not
actually
having a business conversation.
She's calling as a friend.
Conversation.
Yeah, and that's sweet. And
Yeah.
I would say that goes to show that that's a big strength of hers. If people are wanting to stay on the phone with her for that long, they love her.
Yeah.
They love her, like her. Now, do they trust her as a real estate professional?
Yeah.
And you can sit down and again tee that up for another conversation. Okay, I'm off the topic now, but
okay. So
back to tracking.
Yes.
So we're tracking the information, and that's helping us feel empowered as we move ahead. But in that front edge, if you haven't actually set goals or tracked them, just track them and don't worry about what the results are right now. Give yourself, I would say, 3 months, minimum 3 months before you start making decisions on what to change. Don't jump ship until you've put enough effort in.
And then you can start looking for those points of conversion.
Yeah.
So if I'm doing all the activities and I'm not getting any not setting any appointments, or if I'm setting appointments, but I'm not signing any people, or if I'm signing people, but they're not moving forward past that.
Yep.
Like I had an agent on my team that was calling everything an appointment. So a coffee was an appointment, and her conversion got so messed up because she was like, I'm setting 4 appointments a week. Well, they weren't appointments. They were coffee dates. They were just
relationship
check-ins.
cultivation dates, which is great. But that's not a like, tell me what my house is worth appointment.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you kind of see where is something pausing, or where are you not getting through a full transaction, that could be a set of skills that you need to work on.
Yep.
Right.
For sure. We can come back to those
Yeah.
other episodes. Yeah. Yeah. So again, just to like pinpoint a couple of things to bring clarity. When you're setting goals annually, you want to have a combination of relationship cultivation activities. So if you love to have coffee with people, you might have a goal to set 1 or 2 or 3 or 5 coffee dates a week. And that's eventually those will turn into real estate clients. So I would have a combination of goals like that, event things, fun things that aren't real estate related, but people know maybe your real estate business is sponsoring the event, something like that. And then prospecting goals. Like what are the activities that are hunting goals? Like I'm going out to go after the business and find the now business and get them. And so
it's kind of who's in your database and who are you going to add to your database.
Yes. Perfect.
Also.
Perfect. So then we set them annually. We break them down by month. If you want to get fancy, you can factor in seasonality, knowing that there's a hot spring market, there's a slower, maybe you want to factor in November, you don't really work much, or December, you don't work much. Like some coaches would be like, don't do that because New Year's sucks, but not if you actually execute and plan the right way. I think we should have flexibility to do what we want. And then you break them down by month. And then the way I would suggest, I think you do the same thing, is then you break them down by week. You don't take the monthly goal of setting, let's say you want to set, 5 listing appointments that month, and then say, well, I need to set 1 listing appointment every week. If week 1 you don't set any, and week 2 you don't set any, week 3 your goal needs to be to set 3 listing appointments. So also each week you're looking at the activities that you're doing and you're fine tuning, or you got sick, or or maybe. And I would say at the beginning of that month, you're also looking at, what does my month look like? Oh, I'm on spring break this week.
Yeah.
I actually only have 3 weeks to set the goal, so you need to look at it by the month and then take it week by week so that you can assess how the week is going and pivot as you go. Make sense?
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Would you add anything to any of that? Goal setting.
I don't think so. I mean, I think this is just like the very basics. And I think that I'm thinking about my own business, and I'm like, oh, I haven't been tracking activities and holding them accountable lately.
Yeah.
I've just been kind of going with the flow.
Yeah.
So that's an area that I'm just right away. I mean, I think that no matter how much business you're doing, you could look at, okay, did I set a goal this year?
Yeah.
Do I have it broken down to units? And then do I have a succinct plan, both with my database and with adding people to my database? And then am I tracking those activities, and am I holding my time and my activities accountable? Because that's how I think of tracking, is hold those accountable to getting you to where you want to go.
Yeah.
So I think anybody could just do a quick check-in. We're at the end of Q1 right now, starting Q2. I think it's a good time to just do a check-in on what happened in Q1.
Yeah.
Also, what did I do?
That's good. And I think I'm on this 60-day plan, and last week I just kind of ate it. I just didn't do great I did some stuff, but not like to the full extent. And I had a moment of like, fuck, just like I'm 3 weeks in and I just already lost the mojo. And then I coached myself, which is like, you didn't lose it. This is, I got feedback, we talk about that in NLP, or I'm sure you've heard it, but like, it's not failure, it's just feedback. So what's the feedback? What am I learning from that last week? Why did I not go balls to the wall on week 3? I don't know if I would say I was kicking myself, but just like, oh, shoot. And I think there's this, I'll just speak for myself. I don't know if you feel this way, but like, I have the propensity in those moments to feel a little bit defeated and feel like, now that's out the window, or that means that I'm not XYZ kind of person. Like maybe I'm not as disciplined as I thought, or maybe I'm not as motivated as I thought. I don't think any of that is true. I think it's like, oh, this last week, and I told you just as friends, we were talking, and I was like, yeah, I was super excited. I got this push of energy to work on my other podcast, and it felt so good to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm in this place in life where I'm wanting to honor all of that, but also I need to make money. So there's this the point of reflection that you sit and then offer yourself grace and compassion, but then don't coddle yourself to the point where you're not gonna. Okay, Jen, like so. Yesterday I was at home because I had self tanner on and I didn't want to come into the office. And I was like, okay, there's no reason I can't make my calls from home. I just have had in my mind that it feels good to get in the office and do the calls here.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, get on the phone now and do them. And I did them at home. It was great. And I had great conversations and people were legit so happy to hear from me. And it felt like a big win.
Yeah.
So my main point in this is that I think a really good mantra to have is just to start again. It's like a yoga mantra. A lot of people, it's just start again. It's not failure. It's not giving up. It's not, I especially think in real estate, there's a lot of really highly driven A-type people that feel like it's all or nothing. And so you put a plan together, and if I didn't execute it fully, then I'm just going to ditch the whole plan.
Yeah.
No, just like choose again tomorrow. Like choose it again tomorrow. You have a fresh start. You have a fresh start all the time.
Yeah.
Just like choosing that.
I think that's one of my favorite things about this business is that now this is with a lot of flexibility as long as you're financially flexible, right? There are people that have this luxury. It's a luxury for sure, but there have been seasons in my life where I've been able to pull way back and focus on completely different things and still have a sustainable living coming in, but be able to, my dad got sick. I was able to take care of him for a full year. And I really did not focus on real estate. And I still made plenty of money to sustain my life.
Yeah.
And that was a luxury of, having systems in place, my database really supporting me. I still was doing transactions. So it wasn't that I wasn't doing any real estate, but I wasn't doing prospecting. I wasn't out there hustling to find business. And I think that's like one of the most beautiful things about this business is you can have a week that's off, and then you can also choose to hit it double hard this week.
Yeah.
And say,
so
okay, this week, last week I didn't have the energy or something happened and it threw me off a little bit. This week I'm going to work 4 12-hour days.
Yeah.
Because I can.
Yeah.
And I'm going to go harder than I normally would this week to kind of make up for that. And that's not always necessary, but sometimes it is.
Yeah.
Which kind of brings us to the last thing we're going to talk about, which is this balance of discipline and boundaries, which is like the perfect transition, right?
Yeah.
So you can be incredibly disciplined to reach these goals, and you can be tracking, and you can be, and then there's the boundaries end of thing of not working 24/7.
Yeah.
Holding space for life, because I've had, again, seasons in this industry where I didn't have any boundaries. And I think that agents get there and it feels like success. And then the new level of success is putting those boundaries back in place and having both, having business and a life. But I think that's a pretty normal. So let's talk a little bit about the balance of discipline and boundaries as kind of a final touching point.
Yeah, I think when it comes to setting goals, like you probably know if you're listening where you're at, and you might tend to lean towards one of those sides or the other, meaning like you really lack discipline. So you're kind of, I'm just going to say lazy. I wouldn't call you lazy, but
I kind of would. I mean, I don't think lazy is a fair term.
You work hard, but you don't.
I think I choose where I'm disciplined, and I choose not to be disciplined in areas that feel bad.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah.
For me, again, a little bit of a luxury, and I would like to infuse a little bit more of the discipline back in.
Yeah. So you or people like you, if it's like, okay, the tendency is that I lack discipline. If it's somebody that doesn't have business just coming in, you really need discipline to execute on the plan. Like, it's really hard. And you were saying, even like for you, you built your business just very organically. If that is a luxury that people have, then great. But if you don't and you want to get this thing off the ground, it's going to require discipline to do that.
Yep.
And
I will say, when I have a written out plan,
you're super
I can follow it
to a T
so much better than if you don't. And if I'm just, saying, well, what am I going to do this week? It's very easy to say,
it's
I'll do it tomorrow.
too.
I'll do it tomorrow. It's also like easy to just be like, I know I need to go and do something, but I'm going to do this today instead. So if you have it literally, when I am disciplined, I actually do like a Sunday night plan the week, and I look at, what am I going to eat? What days do I know I'm not going to have time to cook? I better make like a soup the night before so I have food. Like literally that, like down to that granular level of, how am I going to eat? What am I going to wear? What are my busy days? And can I carve out a couple of less busy days because I am an introvert and I need less human time on certain days of the week to just recharge and feel like I not going to get sick or something. So,
well, and that's a good example of being disciplined and setting boundaries. Like in that moment, you're like, to me, it's all kind of one and the same in some sense. Discipline to me, and the way that I'm talking about it is helping foster motivation or movement action, I guess is the right word. It helps foster action. Boundaries helps keep the action where it should be, so that your business isn't leaking into every area of your life, so that you're saying, okay, I'm okay with taking all this action in my business these 3 days, but I'm going to set a boundary because I know as an introvert, I need to have this time to refuel, or I'm going to suck next week when it comes to my next busy days. So it's like the combination of both, of knowing like it's creating a framework for yourself and then holding yourself to that framework, I guess. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. No, I love it. And I don't know that we have to go in too deep. I mean, that is the whole idea. And I think if you're a person that struggles on either end, to me, the more granular you can literally write out every single thing.
Yeah.
For my brain, that's what works. Is that how your brain works, or is it different? Because we do come at things from such a different way.
I don't know how specific you mean, but I do like, if I've got busy weeks, I'm looking at what I'm cooking. I will lay out my clothes the night before, not a full week of outfits, but I will, if I'm working out in the morning, I'll look at when am I going to work out, and I'll lay out my workout clothes too. Like I'll try to eliminate, well, we'll talk about that in the habit building one, like how you eliminate friction that gets in the way. What are the things that you bump into that get in the way of you executing the plan? Or what are the things that tempt you to not keep that boundary? So that you remove those, so that you're more likely to stay in the framework the way you want to. But yes, I do on a Sunday night, I do look at all of that. And not every single week, but a lot of weeks, because to me, I feel when I don't have the structure, I feel overwhelmed. So if I wake up the next day and I'm like, what am I doing again to build my business? I'm like, fuck, when am I going to work out? And then I start to just feel icky because I didn't get I haven't the last couple of days, like I didn't get a workout in because I didn't plan it. And then I'm like, and then I don't feel like me the same way.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Or maybe you're letting yourself down in some way because you're not like holding space for the things that are important to you and that are important to you.
Yeah.
I mean, I know I feel like that. I feel like kind of, if it's a few days and I've just been kind of playing it fast and loose and I don't have a plan and I'm just kind of like, woo, I'm living in one part of my brain loves that so much. And I'm like, oh, I would be such a good independently wealthy person that just like hung out and didn't have to have discipline and didn't have to plan. Yeah. But then it starts to feel bad really quickly for me as well. And I'm like, it's time to sit down and really get a plan in place and get that structure back, even if it's just like 3 days a week. Maybe I carve out one day where I literally have nothing planned. I'm only reactive. I'm only doing like client servicing. And the rest of the day is just, I can just be fast and loose and all over the place. But
fast and loose.
But it starts to not feel good for me after, like I start getting anxiety. Yeah. If I let it go for too long, because I'm like, wait, what am I doing? What is this life? Like I'm just kind of do. Yeah. And that starts to feel bad if you have goals you're trying to reach. If I didn't have the need for goals,
I don't even know if it's even goals, but I feel like there's this element of like, I think we're created to not produce. I think this is important to me just on a personal level. Like, I think we're created to grow. Like, we're designed to grow and evolve and change. And so maybe for some people that equals accomplishment or that equals production. For me, it doesn't equal production, but it equals movement. Like, growth is movement.
Yeah.
And so when it's like all sitting, it doesn't
Stagnant.
It's stagnancy. It's just as like, that's why it doesn't feel good to me. It's not that I need to have some output that I can point to and go, wow, I'm proud of that output. It's that I'm moving, evolving, changing, growing.
In motion.
Yeah, in motion. Yes, in motion. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I think we covered it all today, right? We covered everything there was to cover.
100%. We could take each one of those points we could talk about for 6 hours, which is the problem with us having a podcast. Sorry, everyone. We cannot stop talking. All right, let's recap a little bit. So, and we've already done this a bit. So,
start with your monetary goals. Start with what do you, if you don't have a floor, know what your floor is, meaning what's the bare minimum that you could make to pay your bills and feel like you're not, like you can get by. And then if you also want to put a high end on that, you can do that too. Like what would be a dream to you to set, and then break that down by units. What's your average price point? And if you don't know, you just use your city's average price point.
I would also push people. I always push, if that's your number and you're new, when it comes to planning the activity that's going to get you there, double or triple the amount of activity you think it's going to take.
Yeah.
Because there is going to be a point of that skill missing where it's just not going to work as well for you right out of the gates.
10X Rule is a good book for that. I haven't read 2X is better than 10X. I've heard of that, but maybe that's another book.
I haven't read either.
10X Rule is a good book, and not really when I was first in sales and then first in management and recruiting. That was a really good motivator for like, in order to get results, you probably need to do 10 times what you think you need to do to get there. Yeah. And then I know we mentioned this before too, but I'll just say this while we're on it. When you don't have a job, your only job is to be employed. Your only job is to find a job. And so it sometimes takes stamina to build up to that, but I'm doing this with myself right now, where you said this earlier, like, okay, so I kind of had a fast and loose week myself last week. When I was door knocking like 2 weeks ago, I was out for like an hour and a half a day, 3 days a week. That's not that much time.
No.
And why couldn't I do 4 hours a day, 5 days a week? There's no reason I couldn't do that if I wore the right shoes.
Yeah, so you could, and you get so many steps in,
and I could
you wouldn't even need to go to the gym
everywhere. Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Then we talked a little bit about building those goals or activities based on how you're wired, what your strengths are. So kind of building that framework of your brand or how you're going to behave or how you like to behave. I don't know.
And then quantifying them, breaking them down, looking at the broad picture. So set your goals by a year, break them down by a month, then break them down a week at a time.
Track,
and
hold
track
them accountable.
And hold them accountable. Yeah.
And then discipline and boundaries. And kind of finding that balance and knowing that both, one helps the other, right? I think that sometimes we think of them as separate things.
Okay.
Is that everything we talked about?
I mean, I think so.
Sure.
That's good enough.
Okay. We would love to hear with you. Jen already mentioned this, but what habits are you trying to build in your business, or what goals are you setting? How are you goal setting? If we missed something, we'd love to hear that. Or what's one thing that you've learned about goal setting or tracking or anything to do with this topic? We would love to hear from you.
Yeah.
Right?
Or questions that you have. Yeah.
Or questions. Yeah. So email us again at hello@realestatedonerightish.com.
Don't forget, we will have, we don't know yet. When we record these live, we don't know yet what resources we're going to put in there. We'll go back and listen and figure out we've got a million resources that we could give you, templates and goal setting templates, and
Tracking.
maybe a list of questions around value questions. People can help kind of get clear on what their values and skill set are so they can figure out how to build or something. But always check the show notes. There'll be goodies for you in there. Yeah.
And as always, if you're finding value in these conversations, follow the show, leave us a review, all of the things, share it with a friend.
Yeah.
Makes a huge difference for us.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all for this week's episode of Real Estate Done Rightish.
Until next time,
Cheers to doing it rightish.
We'll try. I'll just do it as fast as it feels. Okay. The information, opinions, and recommendations presented in this podcast are for general knowledge and informational purposes only and do not constitute professional, legal, or financial advice. As licensed real estate agents in the state of Minnesota, we are not attorneys, financial advisors, or tax professionals, and we cannot provide advice in those areas or in regards to any agency or broker-specific topics in any other state. Any reliance you place on the information provided in this podcast is strictly at your own risk. We strongly encourage you to consult with qualified professionals for specific guidance related to your individual circumstances.
Wow! That was good. All right. Holy sh! Welcome to Real Estate Done Right-ish, everybody. This is your favorite.
I don't know why. Right away. It's like, what is happening?
I want you to be the one that starts this. It's like, what? Now I like in yours. Welcome.
Oh.
You start it once. Let's see what it sounds like.
Welcome to.
We just switch every other word.
No.
All right, let me start again.
Do you want me to do it? I can do it.
Yeah, go ahead. And then you say I'm Annalie, and then I'll do that. And then combined? No shit. Then we mess the whole thing up.
Yeah, you better just do it.
Okay. I feel like. Oh, never mind. Okay, here we go. Welcome to Real Estate Done Right-ish, your favorite podcast for realtors by realtors. I'm Jen.
And I'm Annalie. And for a combined 30 years, we've been working in this industry just trying to figure it out. And by figuring it out...
Well, let's do the whole thing again. I didn't have my lines ready.
And I forgot that I had to say two things in a row.
Yeah, we should change the way that looks.
It's fine. I can just learn how to read.